In December 2008, following a contentious election organized under the watch of a military-backed caretaker government, Sheikh Hasina came to power in Bangladesh, bringing with her a promise of transformative change. She vowed to uphold the rule of law for good governance, ensure media freedom, secure the true independence and impartiality of the judiciary, and build a non-political, people-oriented administration that would serve the needs of the many rather than the interests of the few. But as the years went by, the true nature of Sheikh Hasina's rule became clearer. Beneath the surface of progress, a troubling reality emerged, one marked by growing control and the systematic suppression of dissent. What once seemed like a path forward now carried a cost. Progress, but at what price? Under Sheikh Hasina's rule, Bangladesh became a place where dissent was not merely subdued by powerful government narratives, but silenced through excessive force. Human rights organizations reported on the extensive measures her administration employed to secure its grip on power. Among the most ruthless actions taken by Sheikh Hasina to consolidate her power was the tragic and brutal killing of 57 army officers in the 2009 Pilkhana massacre. These officers, known for their patriotism and anti-Indian stance, were seen as obstacles to Sheikh Hasina's political rise. A few years later, 6 prominent opposition leaders were gradually executed through a special tribunal process. This tribunal faced widespread criticism for violation of international legal standards, drawing condemnation from major human rights organizations around the world. Her administration's iron grip extended to every corner, leaving activists, journalists, and opponents wary, cautious of every word, every action. Behind the scenes, a shadowy network of secret detention centers was used to silence those who dared to challenge her rule. Data from Odhikar, a human rights organization, reveals a troubling pattern. Enforced disappearances surged significantly before elections. A pattern of fear, repression, and control, the stakes made unmistakably clear. As years went by, stories began to surface, of lives held in limbo, of individuals detained without a word, without a trial. Families were left grasping for answers, their lives shadowed by an empty space at the table. The people's frustrations could no longer be contained when the government introduced an unfair quota system that reserved 30% of government jobs for the descendants of those who fought in the Independence War, effectively allocating those positions to members of the ruling party. An additional 26% of quotas was reserved for women, minorities, people with disabilities, and individuals from underdeveloped regions. This left only 44% of positions open to the general population. For countless qualified young Bangladeshis, this system meant fewer opportunities, a lifetime of exclusion, and a growing sense of injustice. Starting in mid-July, massive protests erupted across Bangladesh. What began as a plea for fair employment turned into a nationwide movement. Hundreds of thousands of students and citizens united, their voices rising together in a call for reform, for justice, for change. In time, their demands would echo across the country, growing louder and more urgent. This was no longer just about jobs. This was about a people's demand for a fair and just future. And in the end, it all led to one clear call: the end of Sheikh Hasina's rule. Faced with mounting pressure and unable to maintain control, Sheikh Hasina fled to India. Behind her, she left a legacy shadowed by unimaginable corruption. A government burdened by overwhelming debt owed to foreign nations. Every branch of governance, the judicial, executive and legislative, had been filled with loyalists from her own party. A power structure built to preserve her authority. In her absence, a new chapter began, and the people of Bangladesh stood ready to shape their own destiny. With her departure, the missing began to return. Those once lost in the shadows of detention centers reappeared. In these revelations, a dark history was brought to light. The people began to uncover secrets that had been buried under years of silence. Among the many victims abducted by the government's secret forces is former Brigadier General Abdullah Alaman Azmi, a veteran of the Bangladesh Army who dedicated 30 years of service to his country. He was abruptly dismissed without any offense, allegation, investigation, or trial. Another victim is Barrister Ahmed bin Kashim Arman, the son of Mir Kashim Ali, a leader of Bangladesh Jamaat-e Islami, the largest Islamic political party in Bangladesh. Both of them forcibly disappeared in 2016.
A group of people came to my door late at night and demanded that I should go with them. I could tell from their demeanor and posture they're member of the security forces. They were plain clothes, but they carried arms. They demanded that I should go with them. I wanted them to disclose their identity. Who are they? From which agency they have come? They declined and said that they don't need to identify themselves. I wanted to see for arrest warrant. As a lawyer, I know to arrest someone you need an arrest warrant. They said we don't need anything like that. Please come with us. I tried to resist. Then I found out they're exerting force on me. And in my house at the time, I had my wife, my sister, who was going to college at the time, my two daughters who were child at the time. So I realized if I resist, they might resort to violence. To spare my family member of this agony of going through the violence in front of their eyes, I cooperated.
On 22nd night, about 9:15 p.m., I sat down with my mother and my wife for dinner. Then suddenly got a call from downstairs from the security room that a couple of microbuses have come and people are looking for you. So they came up and I identified the guy as the DJFI officer. The Lieutenant Colonel. I asked them, who are you? Are you law enforcement agency? You show me your identity. They didn't say anything. I said, is there any warrant against me? Is there any case against me? You cannot take me like this, just like that. All they were saying just, Haddan, give your hand, you want to put on handcuff. So the situation came like this. If I didn't, they would have put hands on me. They would physically assault me. And that guy roughly misbehaved, roughly. In Bangladesh, he told me tui even. In English there is no term as tui, but tui in Bangla is a very derogatory term. So I wonder how an officer can talk to me like that. So I put my they handcuffed, blindfolded me and took me downstairs to an ambulance. Made me say I was on board. While in the ambulance, they put the mask on me and drove me away.
So I was dragged down into the car and they started blindfold. As a lawyer, I know that a police should not blindfold, and all they can do is put a handcuff on, that's all. They first put a handcuff on and then they blindfolded me and I resisted. I said, why are you blindfolding me? I'm cooperating with you. They said, this is the rule. I said, I'm a lawyer of the Supreme Court. Can you please tell me where in the law that this rule exists, that you have to blindfold the detainee? They said, please don't make us use violence on you. So I realized that if I resist, they will resort to violence. So I had to comply. That's the last time I saw daylight in 8 years.
For 8 years, former Brigadier General Azmi and Barrister Arman have been kept in complete isolation, cut off from their families and hidden from the world.
They took me inside one room, opened my blind eyes, handcuffed. I found there's one choki, it's just a small little bed and nothing else. The whole night I was scared. I prayed to Almighty during Tahajjud that if this is my last prayer and if you have destined my death in their hand, please accept me as shaheeds. And please let my dead body not be food for the dogs that foxes. Please send my dead body back home.
When I found myself in that cell, I thought this is just one more regular arrest, but I could sense that something is wrong. And I kept telling them that what are the charges. I kept demanding them to tell me what are the charges against me. And all they tell me is orders. You are here because we are ordered to bring you in, and you will have to be here as long as we have the order to keep you. When days turn into weeks, as a lawyer, and for the record, you should know that Bangladesh Constitution does not allow the law enforcement to hold any detainee more than 24 hours without court order. When 24 hours passed, I knew that law has been broken. I kept telling them that when are you going to take me to court? They said, you're not going anywhere. That's when I realized that this is wrong. And when days turned week, I realized that I'm one more victim of this enforced disappearance.
We had the opportunity to meet Sanjida Islam, many of whose family members were political activists and supporters of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Her brother was abducted along with 6 of his friends. After this tragedy, a platform called Mayer Dak, or Mother's Call in English, was formed, giving voice to the families of those who have fallen victim to enforced disappearances.
My brother, Shahidul Islam Shumon, he was an activist of Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Just before the election in Bangladesh, every time there are massive enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killing, arrest and abduction happen by the law enforcement agencies just to be in power by this fascist regime. So my brother's case is one of them. 2014 5th of January election, just before that, 2013 4th of December, my brother and 6 other of his friends were abducted by Rapid Action Battalion 1. When they started denying the law enforcement agencies, my mother went there. We have submitted plenty of applications and we were unable to file any general diary or FIR, or we have filed a high court writ that was also not produced to the court.
Ainagho, the House of Mirror, it was a secret detention centers, and not only 1 or 2, we only came to know few, but we have been told by the confidential sources within the law enforcement agencies that there have been hundreds across the country of such kind of detention centers where torture, detention, brutality of every kind had taken place.
In these secret prisons, total isolation was the norm. Detainees were completely cut off from the world, with many kept handcuffed and blindfolded at all times.
The place I was in, all the detainees were held incommunicado with the family. Total solitary confinement. All the detainees were blindfolded 24/7. All the detainees were handcuffed 24/7. They were handcuffed in the front during the day and back during the night. From midnight to dawn, that's how they were kept. I could hear people being tortured. I could hear people being interrogated late at night. The detention I was in particularly ensured that you will deprive the detainees of basic human need. They were systematically subject to degrading and inhuman treatment.
Inside the room, they didn't give me blindfolded, my hands were not tied. I used to go to the toilet every time, or to the medical room, or for interrogation question. I used to be blindfolded, handcuffed and masked. I've counted, it will be roughly about 41,000 times they put my handcuff and blindfold. Every day I used to go to the toilet for 7 times. The 7 times 2, going and coming 14. And the number of days I attended doctor or for The assistants came for medical checkup, pressure or testing my blood, or for interrogation. All these together, I calculated it will be about 41,000 times.
It's not a lawful detention center. Just you were taken away from the world. You were alive, but you don't have any right to leave. Actually, you have no connection with the world. You don't have any right to have information from the outside. It's like a grave. It's a man who has a life, but who is living in a grave.
I suffered from corona. They treated me. I suffered from dengue, acute kidney infection. Because I never saw sun, I never come understand. There are many skin diseases. I had tooth problem, 50% hearing loss, eyesight problem. I became senseless 4 times. Once it was very severe, just thought I was dead. I fell flat in the toilet from standing position, just towards my back. The head injury, I was vomiting. The doctors were very worried, but Allah saved me. I suffered many acidic problem, gastric problem, but no vital organ was. I had to take medicine for blood high pressure for about 3.5 years.
During the winter, they will give thin blankets that usually given to relief work for in the disaster area. So very thin blanket, one to lay on the floor and one on to the body. During the winter, our skin will get dry and we will have skin disease all over the body. The handcuff will cut through the skin and cause bleeding in my skin. And many times it happened that the cut area got infected. And the skin disease spread all around my body, my hands, my chest, back, leg. It was so bad that the guards who came to look after me started to get infected from my disease. That's how it was. They will give me medicine to make sure that that I live. Everything, food, medicine, everything was only to make sure that I cannot die. That's how, and that's not only me. Everyone in the detention facility was treated like that.
So it is fundamentally different than any other prison or detention centers. We are visible, which are transparent, accountable, and which are run under the law of the state. But those detention centers, secret detention centers, can only be compared to what the Nazis and the fascists in Italy had done to different people and the people of their own countries because they were different.
One thing they would do is they will not let, particularly they were holding them indefinitely. They will not tell them how long they'll be here. They will disconnect from family and outside world. Every month I will hear, I came to find that detainees are there trying to commit suicide. Almost every now and then I will come to know that one of the detainees are going on hunger strike. It's interesting to know that the facility I was in had all the facilities of a hospital. There was a full-time doctor. There was trained medical staff. But the policy was only to give the medical facilities that was enough to keep the detainees alive. They will not let them leave. They will not let them die. So they will give them a worse than death experience.
The 2021 Human Rights Watch report, Where No Son Can Enter, a decade of enforced disappearances in Bangladesh, reveals a disturbing reality. Enforced disappearances have become a tool, wielded to suppress dissent and strengthen authoritarian rule. Security forces, including the Rapid Action Battalion and police, have reportedly carried out systematic arrests and secret detentions without judicial orders. The targets? Politicians, activists, and citizens who simply express opposing views. The report describes a clear purpose behind these practices: to silence voices, spread fear, and leave families in the dark, endlessly searching for answers about the fate of their missing loved ones.
শেখ হাসিনা যখন খাগড়াছড়ি গেলেন 2013 সালে 14 সালের 5 জানুয়ারি নির্বাচনের আগে যে নির্বাচনের সমাবেশ ছিল, ওই সমাবেশে দিনে একটা অবরোধ ছিল। ওই অবরোধের কারণে তার সমাবেশটা একটু দেরিতে শুরু করতে হয়, লোকজন খুব কম আসে। তো 2টায় শুরু হওয়ার কথা ছিল, এটা শুরু হয়েছিল 4টার দিকে বিকাল। হাসিনা তো সমাবেশের সময় বক্তব্য রাখার সময় সে বলেছিল, আজকে যারা অবরোধ দিয়েছে, আজকে যারা যে লোকজনকে সমাবেশে আসতে বাধা দিয়েছে, তাদেরকে আমি দেখে নেব, এভাবে সে ওখানে থ্রেট দিয়ে আসছে। তো এই কথা তারা আমাকে বলেছে, আমি শেখ হাসিনার ওই সমাবেশের দিনে রোড ব্লক করেছিলাম, এটা ছিল আমার একটা অপরাধ।
In Sheikh Hasina's secret prisons, life was a living nightmare. Detainees were stripped of their rights and endured unimaginable conditions. Physical torture was common, but it was the relentless mental torment that left unseen scars. Separated from their families, deprived of sunlight, and lost in isolation, many came to believe that death might be a kind of fate. Here, darkness was not just their surroundings, it was a tool of suffering designed to break the human spirit.
Talking about living condition and food, you put me in the best hotel, say in Bangladesh we call it Radisson, in the best suit, but you keep me out of the whole world, no connection with my family or the whole world. I don't know about my mother, my wife, my sisters, my children, brothers and sisters, where they are, whether living or they're still living or they're dead. And I can't see the sky, the sun, the moon, the cloud, the rain. What difference does it make whether you are keeping me in the floor or keeping me in the waste in? Life is terrible. Life is terrible. It's unbearable.
Barrister Arman recounted how years of blindfolding had affected his eyesight. Survivor Michael Chakma delved into the relentless brutality he had endured, detailing the methods used to break him physically and mentally.
I am physically very badly affected by the tension. Because of the blindfolding of 8 years, I have developed cataract. I had to go to cataract surgery. I have developed neurological condition. I have developed cervical spondylitis, epilepsy, deficiency. Almost all the victims of this secret prison are in really bad shape, health and physically, psychologically.
তারা তো শুধু মানে মানসিক torture তো একদম ভয়ঙ্কর। মানসিক torture কোনটা সবচেয়ে ভয়ঙ্কর জানেন? সেটা হলো আপনাকে একেবারে দুনিয়া থেকে বিচ্ছিন্ন করে রাখা। চেয়ারে তো বসিয়ে আমাকে করলো, যে আমাকে চেয়ারে বসিয়ে হাত বেঁধে দিল, তারপর লক বেঁধে না, এটা লক দেওয়ার লক দেওয়ার ব্যবস্থা আছে, ওটা স্টিল চেয়ার মনে হলো। তারপর এদিকে লক দেওয়ার ব্যবস্থা আছে, ফাটলওয়ালা, চোখ তো বন্ধ আমার, চোখ বাঁধা। তারপর পায়ে লক দেওয়ার ব্যবস্থা আছে এই বরাবর। তারপর এই বরাবর তো লক দেওয়ার ব্যবস্থা আছে একেবারে সাথে, চেয়ারের সাথে, এটা লক করে দেয়। তারপর তারা ওই যে এই কোমর থেকে পিছিয়ে এ পর্যন্ত বেঁধে নেয় একদম শক্ত করে। তারপর ওটা ঘুরালে গড়ে, এটা ইলেকট্রনিক চেয়ার। ওই ইলেকট্রিক চেয়ারে বসে তারা আমাকে বলছে, তোমাকে আমরা এখন 240 বলতে যে পুড়ে ফেলবো, মেরে ফেলবো। তো এই কথা তারা আমাকে বলেছে, তো আমি ভয় পেয়ে গিয়েছিলাম একটু।
So far we have experienced the reason behind the enforced disappearance largely was political. The then government tried to arrest people and they kept them secretly in different places called Ainagor, and they were never produced before any court. If they are produced before any court of law, then the court can grant bail, but the government did not want to release them on bail. That's why they kept them secretly without ensuring any fundamental rights, human rights, any communication with family members, any communication with lawyer, any communication with journalists, they are barred from all sorts of communication. Even they were kept secretly in a secret place, dark place.
I took the question several times in writing or verbally that please let me know whether my mother is what about my family, mother, my wife, my children, and let them know that I'm still alive. No response.
In these closed prisons, interrogations became relentless ordeals for many. Some endured brutal beatings. Detainees were bombarded with questions centered on why they opposed the government or why they were against India.
In this 8 years, I was never interviewed. Not even a single thing. I was the one who told them that tell me the charges against me so that I can defend myself. Maybe there's a mistake. Maybe I'm here as a part of mistake. But they said, no, this is not a mistake. They did not, never interrogated me. Other people were interrogated. The interrogation used to take place late at night. They were subject to brutal treatment during the interrogation. I heard grown-up men screaming like children. And that continued night after night. This is what they were doing to people who wanted democracy. Primary detainees of that center were overwhelming majority of them belonged to the opposition of the autocratic regime. All they wanted is a fair election. And they did this deliberately to prominent people within the opposition to create an environment of fear. Everyone felt vulnerable.
It's violated the domestic law, it's violated the international law. It's violated all the norms of a human being.
If anybody's right of freedom is curtailed or limited, it has to be done within and under the law, with following the jurisdiction of the judiciary.
One thing we've uncovered is quite striking. Several detainees have shared testimonies suggesting foreign involvement in the detention centers. Some reported sensing the presence of Indian intelligence officers during their captivity.
I have no doubt in my mind that I was kept under custody on India's order, on India's directions, on Raw's directions. And one of the lower level officers told me that you are victim of foreign perpetrators.
I have no doubt in my mind, during 8 years, I kept feeling the presence of people in the management who are not Bangladeshis.
Right after August 5th, when Sheikh Hasina escaped to India, the detainees began to be released.
So the day I was released, it was during the pre-dawn time at 2 a.m. I was praying with the Tahajjud in the cell. I was praying. At that time, usually the guards sleeps. Most of the guards sleeps at the time. And that time, when I was praying, almost 10, 12 people rushed into my cell. They never come into the cell at the time. I was surprised, but I kept praying. So the senior man in the team screamed at me that, finish your prayer now. So I thought they're going to kill me, because they never come at this place and they never interrupt me during the prayer. So I finished my prayer. They took off the blindfold. The blindfold they used to use to blindfold me is the same fabric that usually used in the military uniform. They took it off and used a gamcha to blindfold me. It's a local fabric that is used by the laborers to blindfold me. Then they used another gamcha to tie my hand. I thought they were going to kill me. They took me out and made me lie into the floor of a car. And they drove on for almost 1 hour, or one and a half hour, kept driving. And they stopped in an area. I thought they're taking taking me somewhere where I will hear a gunshot and that's it. That will be the end of me. Just before dropping me off, they told me that, tell us who we are. I said, I don't know. They said, where were you last 8 years? I said, I don't know. They said, this is exactly what you're going to tell everyone, all right?
When I came out of the jeep first time after 8 years, I just started shouting. I don't know. I was emotionally so choked, emotionally overwhelmed. Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, Subhanallah. Oh God, I'm seeing your world. I'm seeing your sky. I'm seeing your stars. I'm seeing your art.
After the fall of Sheikh Hasina's regime, Discussions have begun about holding Sheikh Hasina and those responsible for these brutal practices accountable. With mounting evidence and testimonies, legal experts have outlined the possible consequences that they might face.
Is the highest punishment is the capital punishment, but the court will decide, considering the gravity of the offense. Court may award him or her death penalty or imprisonment for life or imprisonment for any other term, which will be just proportionate to their crimes.
Well, I think there is a jurisprudential difference. What kind of punishment should she be given? One is under our current jurisdiction, there is a death penalty. The highest form of penalty could be given to anyone. But of course, the international community has a reservation to death penalty. They're against it. They rather prefer what are the kind of sentences ICC and other war crimes tribunal are giving is life sentence or a period of sentence.
Amnesty International's latest report unveils a grim truth that knows no borders. Across the Middle East, Africa and beyond, secret prisons and enforced disappearances are wielded to silence voices and crush freedoms. Today, secret prisons have become a recurring global reality, holding stories that echo the experiences of victims in Bangladesh. These are stories that some wish could be erased, but they persist, bearing witness to an urgent need for accountability and justice.